Right. Let me just sort this out. Brad McPhee is in the chat. Okay, we should hopefully be back now. For some reason, my OBS did not want to pick up the game. Some kind of weird OBS issue. Obviously, that is my software I stream with and have always streamed with, so I'm not sure why it suddenly has messed up, considering nothing on my end is different to what it normally is. So that's quite annoying. But we should now be back. Obviously, qualifying has now finished, so we will wait with going through the qualifying results till we are on the formation lap, because that's when we will see, you know, the drivers in the correct order. I think that's easier. So for now, that we have a couple of minutes of a warm-up to get through here. So while we do that, I guess we can do what we usually do at this time, and that is show the driver championship going into round 7 here. So on the screen you have got the driver standings with 6 out of 10 rounds gone in Season 7. Charf leading the championship obviously now by quite a margin, 60 points down to Godfather Shift after the, well, do we call it controversy, Yorkie, with the Nova quitting situation? Obviously he has not got any points for the last 2 races, first of all from being disqualified from the Catalonia race and then not being here at Zuhaya, and he still isn't here, so he has dropped down to 3rd now. And he's likely to drop further spots as the likes of D. Keller, Jeff, Claessens, Hideaki, and Brandris and so on, trying to claw their way further up in the championship. So may as well, of course, always someone to look out for, even though he hasn't scored a point since round 3, I believe. So interesting to see what happens with him. In the team championship, Duckbusters, also with Charf, along with D. Keller, sitting pretty at the top. Godfathers of Godfather Shift and Hideaki past Dig Bix last week, and then we have still close battle for 4th between Talk Titanics and Zoom Racing, and Slow and Slower also joining in, and Zengo Motorsport and Veterans as well. To be honest, all those 5 teams not too far apart, and then Backgrid Races and Passenger Seat Racing, the 2 one-man teams trying to fight over that wooden spoon in the team championship at the moment. So Yorkie, what can we say then about the Nurburgring GP circuit?
What can we say about it? It's a pretty good track, plenty of overtaking opportunities. Many real World Series is run here. Obviously Formula 1, WEC, Blackpan GT. I imagine ADAC Masters runs here as well. And of course, also plays host to the Nurburgring 24-hour, or the Nordschleife 24-hour race. Which is happening at the end of this month, I believe. But yeah, it's it's certainly a good track. A number of, like I said, good overtaking opportunities. So hopefully we shall see some good action here. The weather is forecast to be clear, pretty much. Oh, sorry, light cloud, pretty much all the way through the race. And yeah, start time is 10 AM. So. Pretty consistent conditions for the drivers, so we'll probably see at least a pit stop from the majority of people in this race, I would have thought.
Indeed. As the lights now then are going out for this race, and no cars are moving. Mr. Alcon was slightly rolling forwards there, which a bit scary, but luckily everyone is stationary ahead of this manual rolling start procedure, as we always do. So no surprises there. Charf is off and away from pole position. So Yorkie, you said you took screenshots of the qualifying results while I was trying to sort my stuff out. So I guess you will have, you know, some idea of what kind of times are separating these drivers. At least Charf is on pole. What is the gap from him down to Suomi in seconds, if you may tell me?
1/10 of a second. 1/10 Suomi, and then I believe Gonstra was pretty close as well. I think it was like 2 tenths behind Scharf, and then Dekel I think was 4 tenths back. So the close actually, it wasn't too far apart. In fact, actually, tell you what, I'm going to alt tab out the game. Just going to screw my recording, but I'm going to quickly find the results, screenshots. No, that's a bunch of cars too far.
So what was the pole time, actually?
The pole time was a 1:53.2. Then it was a gap of 0.116 seconds to Suomi. Gronstra was also a tenth, well, just under 2 tenths from Charf. Then Dikela was 4 tenths. Godfather Shift was 6 tenths. Hideaki was 6 tenths. Sula was 6 tenths. Biltis was 7 tenths. Rillo was 9 tenths, and then Ratrug in 10th place was 1.178 seconds off of Charf's time. So pretty close at the top, which is good to see.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Going outside the top 10 as well, just to see who we have then. F-Mate also on the grid. The man who finished second actually last week at Zhuhai. So he's quite a bit further down the grid this week, and again a new livery for him. But one to look out for, could move some places up throughout this race. Jeff as well has been on the podium this season, down in 12th at the moment. Tharion in that Soul Bentley on the grid in 13th. And then Ram, who has moved up from the Pro League actually. Ram making his debut in the PC Elite League for this race. We have 2 drivers moving up from the Pro League. Hopefully we'll see the second one a bit further back. Gibbs will be starting in P15. He still hasn't scored a point all season, and he has changed actually over to the BMW Z4, which is allowed on the cost of losing all your points if you change your car mid-season, but he didn't have any points anyway, so I guess that didn't matter. Andrex changes Ginetta, the other driver moving up from Pro, and then Brandrus, Jambai and Mr. Alcon running out a 20-man grid. So let's jump up to the front as Charf is already gone from pole position. And has already a few columns going down, and Suomi hasn't reacted well to it at all. Gronstra up from a 3rd place into 2nd. Suomi getting swarmed a little bit, 3 wide through the first corner. Suomi forced out wide in that Corvette, and he's already dropped down to P5 unless he can get one of those places back side by side with the BMW through the infield section here. Inside for the next corner. Oh, we're looking up the inside of the roof a little bit as well. That is D. Keller up to 3rd at the moment, I believe, and that Godfather Shift in 4th, man, 2nd place in the championship. Side by side, still with Suomi as they come now into turn number something. I'm not quite sure actually, and they're still side by side. Look at this inside now for the BMW Z4. Who will win out? And it's very early battle for P4. I can't separate them, okay? They're still side by side.
Yep, Suomi's still there, trying to hang on the best as he can after the pretty slow getaway. We always see that P2 seems to have a pretty big disadvantage at the very start of the race. It actually looks like he's managed to get the move done this time, hold on to that P4, as he would have been able to accelerate earlier than Godfather Shift. I'm actually seeing a number of cars with damage as well. I think it may have been where I alt-tabbed out and came back in. May have been a little bit of lag somewhere along the line. Ram is going side by side with who is that? That would be Gibbs.
No! Godfather Shift spins it from P5! And there was a bit of contact with one of the cars trying to avoid him there as well. Towards the back of that by BMW Z4. He has managed to rejoin, but down in 17th position. He only now has Mr. Alcon, Dangerous Ginetta and Jam Mai behind him on the track. Horrendous start to the race then after that lovely battle with Suomi. The Godfather Shift, 2nd place in the championship, is all the way down in 17th.
Yep, definitely not good for him. It's actually good to see a few more cars as well. There's a little bit of battling going on in front of him. He's actually trying to go down the inside of Brandrus to try and make up a position almost immediately. He's got Andrex in front of him, then Ram and Gibbs, who are going pretty much side by side. He's actually in a drag race with Brandrus on his outside at the moment. He's also got the slipstream of the guys in front. He should have the inside line coming into this first turn, but Brandrus is going to brake a little bit later, hold him off. Ram's there rejoining onto the track just in front of Brandrus, has forced him to back out of the throttle, and now Godfather Shift is trying to go around the outside of Ram through turn 2 and into turn 3, manages to get that move done quite nicely and slots him behind Andrex, and he's now gained 2 places in a couple of corners to put himself up into 15th.
Yeah, lovely move. Comeback drive started already then for Godfather Shift. Now looking to the inside of the Mercedes AMG, that is Andrex UK, and he gets well out of the way of that one. Probably knows that Godfather Shift is very, very fast. Andrex probably thinking of his long game more than anything, although he's looking quite close. Will maybe get away the slipstream from Z4, who isn't the best on the straight, but Godfather Shift has got that one covered. So we're going to jump back up towards the front of the field. Ratchak is gaining a couple of positions off the start. Sula up in 7th at the moment. Bilt is in 6th. Very nice start for him. Hideaki in 5th at the moment. And then Suomi dropped 2 positions from where he qualified after seemingly reacting very slow to, Charf going. from the front of the field. Obviously, as you mentioned earlier in earlier races, it's quite hard in second place to actually see the pole sitter. So in a way, it can occasionally be quite a disadvantage actually to be second on the grid, because you have to look you kind of have to look out of your side window to see when the pole man is putting his foot down, and sometimes it can be difficult to react to. But we can see now that the top two are trying to streak away a little bit, with of course the championship leader Scharf, who's been so dominant throughout the season, only challenged really by Nova in the races that they were both in. But so far though, Yorkie, Gronstra keeping up very well.
Yep, well, we know Gonstra's pretty quick from previous seasons. He hasn't had two greatest seasons so far. In fact, he's had a DNF and an 8th place so far. So yeah, he's not had a great. He's only done. This is his 3rd race, so not the best starts. But we do know he's quick from previous seasons. So hopefully he can challenge Chaff at the top. Further news, a little bit further back. Bratbrug managed to move himself up into 7th place with a rather nice move on Sula. Sula was, I think, a little bit too quick coming into the Schumacher S's and ran a little bit deep through the first part, which compromised his line into the second, and then Sula into the next braking zone. Was able to get alongside him and perform a nice move down the inside and get that one done nice and cleanly. We're just watching at the moment D Killer being fairly closely chased by Suomi behind him in the Corvette, who's obviously trying to recover a little bit from his race. What did I see a little bit further back? I don't think much more. Godfather Shift is now up into 13th position. He's managed to get himself past Gibbs.
There's a side by side. Oh, for 18. Sorry to cut you off there, but the newcomer, well, returning driver to the league, obviously Dangerous Janetta, has been in the Elite League before, but so far this season he's been in the Pro League. But he pulls off a very nice move there on Mr. Alcon, ran the outside of the Schumacher S, but then ran slightly wide on the next corner, although it did not fall off too much for Alcon to get him back. So battling towards the back of the field, and now potentially a move with Brandress in the fast Aston Martin coming up on Ram into the chicane, going for the inside lunge there, and Ram leaving him room, backing out of it. Oh, I say that as actually he then goes on across the corner. I'm surprised there wasn't a slowdown warning actually, going across the second part of the chicane there, as Brandress ran a little bit too wide, and now they're still side by side, and Ram actually getting that position back for now. Do let me know, York, if you see any battles further up, but for now I'm going to stay on this one. Battle was 16th, which is his final points position in the race. Ram on the inside line, heading down to turn 1. Can he hold on in that Audi? That's Martin's going to try to go around the outside, which would be quite impressive if he can pull it off. And it's still going to have part of his car alongside going into the infield. Ram still leaving room on the inside, and there we go. I think Ram, for now, has got that position covered. So, on course, at least, for now, to score 1 point on his debut in the league.
Yep, Dangerous Janetta has also caught up to this pack as the guys were going side by side, obviously slowing him down, helping Dangerous Janetta to get in and make this now a freeway fight. As he's having a little bit of a look down the inside into turn 6. Wasn't quite able to get up alongside to actually try and challenge down the inside of Brandress. But good to see Dangerous Janetta using the Janetta that he has done in previous seasons as well. I don't think we have any other Janettas as Brandress is going for the inside, coming down into the hairpin of turn 8. Looks like he's going to be able to pull this move off quite nicely. It's leaving him room though on the outside for Ram, and I think Ram actually got the better drive. I think Brandress may have let up the rear tyres slightly, coming off the traction zone of the hairpin and up the hill, which yeah, it kind of cost him the position. But now he's looking down the inside again, braking slightly later, running a little bit deep as Ram goes for the switchback. They're still side-by-side battling between these two drivers. Absolutely great stuff for this final points position. Obviously, Dangerous Janetta is there lurking at the back, and actually the two guys behind, I believe that is Jan Mai and Mr. Alcon, are also closing up on this battle as well. Could potentially make it a 5-way fight for this 1 point in P16.
We have a battle now side-by-side for P3 in the race. Suomi trying to get that position back from D. Keller, who is now defending the inside line into turn 1. Very, very tight, can't carry too much speed. The D. Keller, Suomi has done it well to hold it around the outside, inside for next corner as a result of it. And there we go, Suomi, after quite a nice battle there for several corners, has managed to gain that position from D. Keller. And now he has a couple of seconds, 2-3 seconds, up to the front two. Gronstra, who is still holding on to the back of Charf. So Suomi was only 10th behind Charf on qualifying pace. But he's quite a gap out now to close down. But if anyone can do it, it is of course the man in the lovely yellow Corvette.
Yeah, very, very pretty car actually. Good to see that it's being used this season as well. Obviously, D. Keller, I think, not wanting to fight Suomi too much, as he probably knows that Suomi is a little bit quicker than him and maybe potentially be able to use him to help close up the gap to the guys in front. It'd be good to keep an idea. It would be a good idea to keep a close eye on the lap times over the next couple of laps, just to see if that gap between second and third position does come down a little bit.
Contact a bit there between Dangerous Janetta and Brandress in that final points position battle again. And Dangerous Janetta really had to get out of it. He has dropped a couple of more positions through braking slightly too late there. Slight misjudgment from him. And this is of course the 5 cars running right at the back of the field. It's good to see though that no one's like had a super big incident. That means they have dropped completely away from the pack, like we've seen you know, happen on occasion in earlier races. So all these guys close together, even though they're only battling for the 1 point at the moment.
Yep, it's a very, very good track. The guys actually had a really, really good clean start as well. As far as I know, there was no real contact between anyone. Looked like Gibbs was relatively slow there coming through the chicane. Actually, Mr. Alcon is now right up underneath the rear wing of Dangerous Janetta as he took a slightly unconventional line through the corner. I think he went a little bit too deep into the first part, which compromised his line for the second. Just dropped him off the back of Jan Might, and Mr. Alcon's gotten a little bit closer to the back of Dangerous Janetta. But yeah, the start was very good between all the guys. Obviously, we saw a number of drivers going 2-3 wide into the first turn, all kept very nice and clean. So it's definitely good to see that. I see Gibbs is dropping down some positions. I think he may have quite a bit of damage in front of his car.
Catch on to that. I've just been watching Godfather Shift making the move there on Sula actually for P11. Sula dropping down a bit after what looked like a decent start for him, while Godfather Shift obviously going the other way, had that spin on the first lap and now working his way back up through the field. 11th now. Now for the first time in a while there's a gap ahead of him, which he can try to show some of his pace. Gibbs, yeah, he was up to 15th not long ago, so yeah, must have had some kind of problem. Last time I looked at him, he was in clean air as well, so maybe a self-inflicted mistake there, possibly?
Possibly, I'm not entirely sure. To me, he's got a lot of damage to the front of his car, but he did have a lot of damage to the front of his car earlier after I opted out of the game to double check those qualifying results, so I don't have an accurate representation of how much damage he does actually have, but it certainly seems a lot as he's dropped an awful long way back from Jan Mai. Dangerous Janetta has just sailed past him now as well, even before they got to the braking zone coming out of the Schumacher S's. So I think Gibbs probably end up having to pit on this lap, and hopefully won't be a retirement, but yeah, certainly not the race that he was hoping for.
I have to wonder if Sula might have some damage as well, actually, because he's been dropping positions quite quickly now as well. The Hatarion in the Bentley has now also gone past him, and that Bentley should be quite fast on the straight. So Sula, it doesn't look like he will be able to get that back either at the moment. But up to 13th for him, a man who has had, you know, usually top 10 finishes, really. When he does finish races, he's usually in the top 10, he has to be said. So not quite going his way at the moment. Three-way scrap as I move up through the field for 8th here. Jeff in the Mercedes SLS, right behind F. Mate, who is now challenging the McLaren of Rillo for 8th place here. On the outside, oh, this is a daring move. Oh, this would be so impressive if he can pull it off. Inside line for the next corner, and there we go. Absolutely nailed the line and the speed through the corners to go around the outside. Let's see if I can find the corner this time. I think it was turn 6 and then into 7. Let's see if I manage to pull that off. Oh, and the McLaren braking quite early as well, taking Jeff off guard a little bit. Slight bit of rubbing between the two cars. No major harm done though. But Rillo has dropped 1 position down to 9th.
Yep, that's actually dropped him a little bit further back from F-Mate as well. Obviously, F-Mate pulled off an absolutely fantastic textbook move. This is one of the great things about this circuit is corners like that. If you can carry the speed around the outside, you should be able to have the inside line for the next corner. And yeah, F-Mate did a very, very good job there. Both the drivers very, very clean. Obviously, it's slightly not so clean between Jeff and Rillo. I think Jeff outbraked himself a little bit, possibly Rillo braking a little bit earlier, coming down into the hairpin. There's a tiny little bit of contact, but they reformed back in the positions that they were previously in. However, this is allowing Godfather a shift behind them to close up a lot quicker than it would have been previously. Actually, Rillo having a look down the inside, coming into the final corner, but is going to think better of it. And for the moment there, I did have a slight bit of lag that made it look like Godfather Shift was diving into the pits, but he wasn't. He's still out on track, still going. And so is Gibbs, actually, from what I last previously checked.
Yeah, so we think there might be a couple of cars with damage, but no one has been in the pits at the moment. Godfather Shift catching up to this battle, actually, between Rillo and Jeff now. So he will definitely be in the mix for a top 10 position again very shortly. For the time being, it's Jeff who has to try and find a way around that lovely blue McLaren. I was actually running that livery myself all the way back in season 1. I was in the McLaren and in that same coloured car. Very nice, even though the tyre wear wasn't the best for me, but in any case, that's the old days. And now we are all the way in season 7. It's been a long ride with Project Cars 2, of course, not too far away either. Everyone's looking forward to that. Let's see now. I'm going to just move up the field a little bit as those two are spreading out. Quite a big gap behind Bratrag in 7th. And he's got a couple of seconds ahead of him as well to the other McLaren of Biltis, who is seemingly maybe closing a little bit in on Hideaki. He was, 4/10 quicker on the previous lap, which is maybe one to keep an eye out for the final top 5 position. And Keller as well has clearly dropped away from Suomi since being passed. So I think Suomi at the moment is looking up rather than down in terms of where he wants to go. But the top 2 though holding a really strong pace there. And it has to be said, Gronstra, fantastic job so far. He's struggled to finish races quite often, has Perry Gronstra. But we know he has the pace, and so far he's done a fantastic job to hold on to the championship leader.
Yep, his lap was actually a little bit quicker than Shafts was on the previous lap. Also, Suomi was a little bit quicker as well in 3rd position, although he was a tenth slower than Gronstra, but he was like 2 tenths quicker than Shafts. So he is closing up on these two just a tiny little bit. Oh, what are you seeing?
Godfather a shift into the pits. Okay, so this time it wasn't laggy, Yorkie. It was actually him going in the pits this time.
Oh yeah, I also got just as I said that Gibbs hadn't gone into the pits and hadn't retired from the race. I went and checked on Gibbs, and Gibbs was in the pits and had retired from the race.
So Godfather Shift, very early stop. Obviously, we did see spin earlier. I did say that it was a car that clipped the rear of that Z4 as he went past. So I feel like Godfather Shift then maybe has some damage that he wants to get rid of, because I can't think of any other reason why he would go in at that moment in time. This early in the race. So that's quite unfortunate for him. He was looking quite strong though still, because he was still picking up positions. But I guess he must have just felt that the car wasn't quite where he wanted to be.
I think he's possibly going for a very alternative strategy. Obviously, if he's got that damage, he will want to repair it, which I believe is what he's trying to do.
Yeah, maybe it's a mix, actually. Maybe it's a mix of the two theories there, you know?
Yeah, so he's probably changed his tyres in the process as well, because probably the tyre wear is basically just a little bit too much to do the full distance on one set of tyres. So probably close to a 0 stopper, but yeah, doing the 1 stop, and he's just deciding to do it now, and he'll probably run to the end of the race and see what positions he can make up with this pace, as other people will probably start to see a tyre drop off at this point.
Yep. So by the way, quick shout out to the people in the Twitch chat. We've got Minimariner, of course, as always there. We got Adam, we got Ycoms, we got Flavio. And now, unfortunately though, a man I would rather see out of track still, that is Gibbs, who has now also joined the track, saying that he doesn't have the best luck, which I must agree with. Gibbs has yet to score a single point this season, yet to finish a race in the 5 races he has turned up to. So unfortunately, it is not quite going the way of Gibbs this season. He did put a picture in the chat as well, which I didn't completely understand what was wrong in that one.
I can't see it.
Nope.
Oh, stainless throttle's not going to 100%.
Oh, right.
So that will probably explain why he was being passed quite so easily in a number of places around the circuit. Obviously, you need your throttle at 100% for a lot of the time because
that does
it's
help.
the best way, quickest way to accelerate. Yeah, and obviously if other people are doing it, then and you're not, you're at a severe disadvantage. So it's very, very unfortunate to hear. Hopefully he can get that pedal issue sorted out for the next race, and hopefully he'll be back with a vengeance and get a decent result. Because as we said, this season, season 7, has not been.
Or at least get a point, man. Gibbs, just get a point. Just finish the race. I'm sure you can do it. You have 3 more attempts, of course, before the end of the season. I did see as well, by the way, that Sula had been through the pits as well, going for a similar thing as Godfather Shift, and that was another man who we suspected had some damage. So yeah, I think you're right, Yorkie, that he might be a mix actually of the alternate strategy, going for a bit of an undercut maybe, so he doesn't have to make so many passes on track if he knows he has the pace of the cars ahead, and also getting rid of that damage quite early on as well. So it'll be interesting to see when the rest of the field, assuming the rest of the field will make a pit stop, which we think they will. It'll be interesting to see where both Godfather Shift and Sula filter out in the pack.
Yeah, the only obviously slight issue with that is if he does catch up to the back of the slower guys at the rear of the field and he gets stuck behind them, that could obviously hamper his chances of working his way back through the field, and by the time the pit stop's coming around, him being in a more advantageous position to continue his quest back to the front after his spin. Currently just watching Gronstra at the moment, still behind Chaff. Still keeping tabs with him. Suomi behind him. 3 tenths slow on the previous lap. Pretty similar pace all around. Yeah, the top 5 guys all up in the 154s. And then Biltis in a 155 dead, pretty much. I think Ratrock may have had a slight issue on the previous lap, as he has lost a second and a half somewhere along the line.
Not sure.
But
still running nicely in 7th at least. Obviously the most lonely man on the track at the moment, I believe, with a quite solid gap either side. As I'm just looking throughout the field, it seems like the cars are a little bit more spread out than they've been in the early stages here. Even the battle towards the back. Brandress up to 13th actually after fighting hard for P15. Oh, never mind. Here's a side by side actually. Down for 15th spot. Jam Mai trying to go around the outside of Dangerous Ginetta through the long hairpin at the bottom of the hill. Didn't quite pull it off though, so Dangerous Ginetta in 15th at the moment, but Jamai still in the points, but of course he probably knows that he has the threat of Godfather Shift and Sula back there, who has already made their pit stop. Both of these guys still have some work to do if they want to finish the race inside of the points. Mr. Alcon as well behind them, and he's nearly fallen into Godfather Shift already. So yeah, even though Godfather Shift wanted to get out of that traffic, we think he might have to do some passing very soon again. Yep.
Yeah, you're right in that the field has pretty much spread out a fair amount across the front to back. So I'll just jump back up to the front 2 guys of Chaff and Gronstra. Gronstra is still hanging on, and is relatively close. He lost a few tenths on the previous lap. Suomi's still hanging in there as well with similar lap times. So yeah, could be interesting as we get towards the pit stop phase with where they're going to be pitting, or shall I say when they're going to be pitting. And hopefully we'll see a little bit more action start to develop fairly shortly.
Indeed. I'm trying to get rid of my mouse cursor, which is appearing on the stream, because I had to improvise a little bit before, but I can't find a way to do it, so unlucky. Actually, give me 1 second. I think I might have an idea. Especially now that I mention it, it's going to really annoy people, I think. Which wasn't very smart, but let's see. Has that fixed it? Nope, it hasn't. Yorkie, take us through some battling while I try to fix it.
Yep, Godfather Shift is just making the move on Mr. Alcon into the hairpin of turn 8. Managed to get that one done fairly nice and cleanly, and has now slotted himself up into 17th position, so he's well off and on his way to hunt down the guys in front of him. He was a good 4 seconds on the previous lap, faster than Mr. Alcon was. So it was only going to be a matter of time before those two are traded positions, and it's only going to be a relatively short matter of time, probably a couple of laps before he's up onto the back of Jamai and back up into the points. Obviously, all the guys in front of him do need to make their stop as well, so that will help him when that comes round. But yeah, some of the guys may stay out a fair while, because we're not too sure when the pit stops are going to be for these drivers in this race.
Nope. And unfortunately, I haven't found a way. See that Flavio in the chat says that there is a setting. I thought there was an easy setting to hide the mouse arrow actually, but I'm using the more modern version of OBS. I don't know, that seems to have disappeared from where it used to be. So, unless someone can point me directly to that, you're gonna have to live with that for today at least. But that's how it is. Hopefully it shouldn't matter too much. Anyway, looking back up to the battle at the front, which now is... Oh, Wes Gronstra. Where is Gronstra gone? Gronstra has had
He's lost it.
He's lost it,
yes,
yeah.
he has. He's dropped down to third.
So Gronstra dropped right behind Suomi, actually, and that must have been a self-inflicted spin. Something we've seen him do quite too often for what he would have liked, really. Of course, when he made his return to the league a couple of races ago at Catalonia, he ended his own race by spinning out of the first couple of corners. Can't exactly... Well, he had a couple of problems as well last week at Zhuhai, although that time he at least finished the race. But this time he has unfortunately then dropped away from Chaff. Chaff has been given some breathing space really for the first time all race. And now Gronstra instead has to try and battle with Suomi for a second place. Suomi though will take that up into second in that Corvette. Still has clean air ahead of him. The pace, though, I don't think it's been quite on the same pace at Chaff. Again, 2/10 off. It's not far off of Chaff's pace, but not quite catching at the moment. And obviously, you know that the Rough is a good car. We don't know really. Obviously, the Corvette can be a good car, but I think that is more track sensitive, really, whereas the Rough is more of an all-rounder.
Yep, definitely for sure. Oh, actually, Gronstra went very, very deep there through that corner as well, and almost out onto the grass on the exit. Did manage to just about keep it on the black stuff though, so hopefully he's not too frustrated after possibly what was a self-inflicted mistake. He lost 6 seconds on the previous lap, which obviously cost him that second place. Di Keller is not too far back from those guys. And it looked like Hideaki was actually really quite close to Di Keller, but he's a little bit further back than I thought, and Di Keller was actually pulling away on the previous lap, so unfortunately... Sorry. Tired. Late nights. Yawning there. Yeah, unfortunately Hideaki isn't closing up onto the back of Di Keller for 4th position. But we'll see what happens as tyre wear will start to come into play. Brillo is not too far ahead of Jeff. Battle for P9, P10.
No's cursor is still there. I'm just trying to sort this, but it's not working. I see what you're saying, Flavio, but I can't. I've done the checkbox that you mentioned, but it's still... I don't know. Something's going on there. Anyway. Where were we? Battle for second. Gronstra not being able to do anything but Suomi at the moment. Oh, I'm seeing actually Jeff has caught up to the back of Rillo a little bit, so they're only half a second or so apart in the battle for 9. Probably the other closer battle on the circuit. And actually as well, I'm gonna go jump all the way down to the back of the field. The 2 last cars on track that haven't retired. Mr. Alcon in that beautiful lime green Rough has been now overtaken going up the hill by Sula, who has made a pit stop already. He's on a bit of a comeback drive, nearly. Alcon running into the back of him into the chicane. Tricky to spot the braking point into there, really, when you got a car immediately ahead. And Sula, though, at least without trouble, up into 18th position. And Godfather Shift now is facing even more traffic on his run back through the field, and while trying to make his potential, what we think is undercut strategy, work. Already going to make easy work of Jamai, though, who gets well out of the way in the Mercedes SLS. through the infield section. Godfather Shift easily into the points position now. 16th place for him. And he still has work to do with Dangerous Ginetta right ahead of him. In the Ginetta, unsurprisingly. Oh, and he's running super wide onto the cross. Don't spin back into the BMW. I think a little bit of a hot in-mouth moment for for Godfather Shift there. But it has allowed him to get a run down the straight. The Ginetta, though, seemingly with decent straight line speed, so Godfather Shift has to do it on the brakes there into the hairpin. Ginetta leaving me plenty of room on the inside. And there we go, Godfather Shift up another position. And now he has a couple of seconds. He needs to close on a Ram, the debutant for today, to get further up. So nice easy work there for Godfather Shift, quite efficient. And he will be continuing his charge. And of course, we can see that you know, some cars not too far ahead, so we expect that when these guys made the pit stops, Godfather Shift should pick up quite a few positions, but we're not exactly sure how many.
Yep, we've also missed the swap of positions between Gronstra and Suomi. Gronstra has managed to get himself back up into second place. I think they probably did that either at the end of the last lap or the very beginning of this lap. I picked them up just as they were coming through turn 2, turn 3, and yeah, the move had already been done, unfortunately, so we missed that one. But yeah, Gronstra now back in front of Suomi, so they'll be trying to charge back up towards Chaff. Gronstra actually, despite making that overtake, was still 4/10 of a second quicker than Chaff was on the previous lap. Suomi did 1:54.999, so that seems about right for the pace that he had been doing previously and the guys around him, so I don't think that was a mistake. I think it was just a pure pass for position. Yeah,
it's quite impressive actually. Very impressive lap, only 2/10 off his personal best in the race, and while making an overtake. And actually, that's 1:54.
Oh!
That was a bit close, yeah.
Okay, lag.
It wasn't that close. Come on. Suomi is taking a really wide entry actually into the final corner, using all of the curb. And we'll be looking to pick up some slipstream on the BMW Z4. I'm not quite sure about the Corvette straight line speed. The Z4 is not one of the best cars on the straight, but it does seem that Gronstra has got Suomi covered at the moment. But I was going to say that 1:54 lap that it did was actually faster than Chaff's fastest lap all race. Gronstra does hold the fastest lap of the race overall as well. The only man to have broken into the 53s. So Gronstra does have the pace, but at the moment with that spin, you have to say that maybe the consistency isn't quite there to get it back up to Chaff. But you know, if he's able to keep out of trouble, he definitely can do it.
My game suddenly turned into Tokyo Drift. The cars going sideways through the through all the corners, which is why I was going ooh, because sorry, Gronstra was going very, very deep into the chicane, and Suomi was following him, and I thought that may have going to be contact, but I think I'm just having some internet issues my end. The guys are still like moving, and they're not warping around the place. They're offline and sliding a little bit.
Oh, speaking of offline, Ram going off the track there to let Godfather shift through. I don't think he intended to do that, but he just ran a little bit wide out of turn 2 into 3, and Godfather shift again without losing significant amounts of time. Picks up another position, now up to 14th, and with Brandrus actually not far ahead. Ahead of Brandrus though, there's quite a gap, 4 or 5 seconds. There's even more of a gap actually from Andrex in 12th up to Etharion. That's more like 10 seconds, 9 or 10. So
I'm seeing Godfather shift in the wall.
Oh, there. Where's he gone? There's he gone. I'm not even seeing him. I can see a wall from his bumper cam. There he is. Oh, there. And Godfather Shift has disappeared from the session.
God damn it. I was going to say, I was watching him just then, and he just went flying straight on into the wall at the bottom of the hairpin. And yeah, for a moment I thought that may have been me, but then the other cars continued through normally. But yeah, that's a shame. That would have been a really, really good drive to watch. Essentially, see him come back through the field and see where he would have come out. So we're going to have to resort to watching Sula for that one, actually, because he's in pretty much a similar position, although he did pit a few laps afterwards. He's actually closing up onto towards Jamai and Dangerous Janetta now. So in a lap or two's time, he'll pretty much be there. But yeah, Godfather Shift before his disconnect there was running pretty much at the same pace as the leaders up in front. Sula is as well, actually. He's doing a 54.9, and the guys at the front are they're in their 54s. So
obviously fresher tires, but not that much fresher, I guess.
Gordon's just spun again. Just picked him up literally just then as he was coming out through the exit of turn 11, I think that was. And yeah, he just lost the rear end and slid over to driver's left-hand side on the circuit, and he's dropped down into P4 with that now. Obviously, Suomi was right behind him. D. Keller was not too far behind. He's between D. Keller and Hideaki now, is rejoined just in front of Hideaki, but that's the second mistake that we've seen him make this race, and cars are going everywhere for me. But it looks like both Gronstra and Hideaki are diving into the pit lane.
Interesting. Same for Gronstra, of course. We did say his pace was absolutely fantastic, but yeah, he does struggle with the spins for whatever reason. And it's cost him again down into 5th now, obviously, but making their pit stop. Yeah, we're about halfway, just before the halfway point on the race, so slightly earlier than the halfway point for these guys, but still quite a reasonable time to pit if you're planning to go half and half, which is obviously quite usual for when there's a one-stop race. So Gronstra in the box, Hideaki in the box.
This is actually going to be really interesting to watch, because Hideaki was right behind Gronstra, and if Hideaki gets a half-decent stop, he may... I know, I was going to say, he may hold up and prevent Gronstra from coming out, but they got released at pretty much at the same time, so there was nothing there. However, Hideaki has managed to accelerate and out-drag Gronstra down into turn 1 and take 8th position.
Okay.
Coming out of the pit lane.
Okay,
what?
So... Gronstra must have been slow on the reaction and coming out of the pits there. Because, yeah, as I said, Hideaki suddenly had the run on the inside line into the first corner. So that's interesting. Hideaki has gained a position on Gronstra, not in the pits, but out of the pits. So, yeah, BMW Z4 versus BMW Z4. Gronstra has the pace. Hideaki has the pit lane skills. So we'll see how this battle develops. We think it's the battle for P4, if you consider in when the cars ahead will pit. Hideaki running quite wide through the hairpin as well. Yeah, Gronstra is he needs to sort his spins out, to be honest, because that is really, from what I've seen from Gronstra, that is really what the main sort of thing that's holding him back from properly challenging throughout the whole season, for top positions in the championship. Because on pace, he's absolutely fantastic when he's on his game. Which is also why it'll be tricky, of course, for Hideaki to hang on to this now, if Gronstra wants that position. He's gaining in the slipstream. Will he move to the inside already? No, he actually decides against that one. Doesn't want to do anything too crazy into the chicane. Obviously, that chicane is tricky enough as it is. He nails the exit, though. So you get to run into the final corner on the inside of Hideaki. He's going to try to hold it around the outside. Gronstra with a much tighter line. Can he get an exit, though? Hideaki, you'd think, would be able to get earlier on the throttle, but Gronstra has managed to pull his whole car ahead. Now it's Hideaki's turn to get the slipstream run down into the first corner. He will move to the inside, will have to try and nail him on the brakes, but no, he backs out of that one. So Gronstra back up into 6th place now, but a net P4 in the race. So a nice little battle there, and let's see if Gronstra now can keep on, keep hold of the position he's in.
Yep. Good driving by both the guys. It actually makes it even more impressive when you remind yourself that Hideaki's driving with a pad, having that much confidence to go wheel to wheel with the guy in front. I think Suomi's made a pit stop somewhere along the line. He's now down in 5th position. F-Mate up ahead, along with Biltus and D. Keller as well. Charles still hasn't made his pit stop yet. Just coming through the chicane now. Does he dive into the pit lane? Yes, he does. Chaff is pitting in
Ooh.
this lap on lap 20, well, the end of lap 21 onto the start of lap 22.
Yep, so race leader in, going very slowly, not that he has a choice at this point of the track. So let's see then. Keller's going to stay out, so Keller's going to be leading at least a lap here in this race. Of course, Chaff's teammate, so it's looking very good for that team who's already leading the team championship, of course. They're doing well with both cars again here today. Nice to see, by the way, Nismo in the chat, obviously, again, another man who I'd rather see out on track, but he still has his problems with his pedals, which means he won't be racing anymore this season, unfortunately. As F-Mate also goes past the pits and into second for the time being. Chaff comes out in third, with Biltis also now making his pit stop. Suomi's going to go through on him. And then here comes Gronstra and Hideaki as well, who pitted a lap or so ago. Andrex is also coming in the pits. Brandrus is coming into the pits. It does seem like everyone is going to one stop this particular race. Although Ratrag stays out, but the other Audi of Ram also into the pits. Sula, of course, who we saw make the very early pit stop, he's now going to gain a lot of positions from this. Let's see exactly how high he gets. P9 at the moment, Ratrag in P8, next car up the road here. So up to 9th for Sula. That's definitely a few places up from where he was when he did go into the pits. So he's picked some up there from just running his pace further back. But of course, he probably does want to be a little bit higher up by the time this checkered flag falls.
Yep. He may actually gain another position or two. No, Biltis has stopped, Hideaki stopped, Gronstra stopped, Suri stopped, Chaff has stopped. F-Mate hasn't stopped, his teammate, so... D-Killer hasn't stopped either, but D-Killer I think is too far away. So I think he may make up one, maybe two more positions in this pit stop phase, and then it's purely down to him and track position. Obviously, he has that at the moment over a number of other drivers around him. However, of course, he will be on older tyres as it comes more towards the latter stages of the race. So that'll be quite an interesting one to see if that strategy will pay off for him, and whether he can hold on to the 9th position that he currently has, a potential 7th, 8th, maybe 7th. Depending on who in front is still yet to pit.
Yep.
So keep an eye on that very, very closely.
F-Mate going into the lead then of the race. He has had one podium so far this season, and is now going to be leading the race, at least until he pits, unless he wants to go completely crazy on strategy, gamble everything, and try to zero stop this race. But even then, Charf is only a few seconds behind. So it definitely won't be the win for F-Mate unless something quite magical happens for him. For now, he's going to be in the lead of the race, with Chaff charging him down. Suomi then in third at the moment, with Gronstra now trying to pull a gap on Hideaki. Actually, that's Keller now. Oh, Hideaki has dropped... Hideaki has dropped a lot of time, actually. Since being passed then by Gronstra. Shows the pace of Gronstra, of course, because we know Hideaki is a really quick driver as well. We think the only pad driver in the league, obviously, which is quite impressive against the field of wheel users. But yeah, it's Keller now, actually, who has come out of the pits just behind Gronstra. So Gronstra was quicker than him on pace earlier in the race. But Keller will have a couple of laps fresher tires, I guess. Remains to be seen if that will be a deciding factor coming in the race.
Yep, Gronstra was also actually behind D. Keller when he came in for his stop, so that's been a trade of positions there. Obviously, with Gronstra's very blistering pace, I believe he's got the fastest lap of the race.
He does, yeah.
At the moment, he does. 53.22. Sorry, 53.322. Yeah, Suomi's also dropped down into the 53s as well, whereas everybody else...
Chaff is first flying the lap on the fresh tires. This is 53.8, so 5 tenths off Gronstra.
Yeah, I was going to say everyone else was in the 54s, but yeah, Chaff just popping in his new fastest lap that he has done this race. He's got F-Mate not too far up the road from him. There's probably 2-3 seconds between those two drivers. I'm just dropping back. Ratrug is still running around in 8th position. Sulat's still in 9th. He's pulling away from Jeff by the looks of things. We'll just double check the gap there with their lap times. And yes, half a second Sula gained over Jeff on the previous lap. And did he actually close up on Ratrug? He did by 2/10. So a little bit of movement going on around in the midfield. Andrex has dropped back towards Brandurus a little bit. They're in 13th or 14th position. Rams running in 15th at Debutant, and then Dangerous Janetta, who has his first race in Elite for Season 7. Obviously, he was here in previous seasons. He is running in that final points position of 16th place with Jam Mai behind. And then we are missing a Mr. Alcon. He has also retired from the race.
Go ahead then. 3 retirements so far. 17 cars still going at it out on track. No super intimately close battles at the moment. We've seen some really lovely side-by-side moments through this race so far, but at the moment they are all seconds or more apart, although that won't be for long because F-Mate, who is still staying out, I think he's going for it, to be honest. It's gonna be a struggle for him on tire wear, but at the moment he's gone several laps past the midway point without going into the pit. So I think he's the only man who has yet to go into the pit lane for a tire change. He has got the man who was leading the race, Charf, right behind him now. So he might not be able to hold on to the lead for long, but he's doing a good job so far. But Yorkie, I mean, I haven't driven this track myself for ages in these cars, but tire wear, is it possible? You go to the end?
Quite possible. Well, yeah, you can drive to the end if you really, really want. It's what the tyres would be like at the end of that. I'm not entirely sure, but he does have track position at the moment, and the gaps aren't too horrendous. What's his lap times that he's doing? He's doing mid 55s. The guys around him are doing 53s. The next person who's doing similar lap times is probably Rillo in 10th place. So
that's very wide.
Yeah, it did go very, very deep, going through the hairpin, which has allowed Chaff to come right up behind him, and he actually stays to the right and lets Chaff go through. Obviously, he knows that Chaff is a whole lot quicker. So I think he's more just. He could be just trying to hold onto the car a little bit more. I think Ratrug on the previous lap has made a mistake somewhere along the line as well. Where's Ratrug gone? He is in the garage.
Oh.
Ratrug has retired from the race.
That's a shame.
Which is unfortunate because I did see Sula was up into 8th place when I quick flick through the field, and then Ratrug was down. Ratrug was down in 11th place. So I think there may have been a mistake somewhere along the line for him, probably taking on damage, and that'll be the end of his race, unfortunately.
Another one bites the dust then, but everyone from 9th place down will happily take the extra position, you would think. Godfather Shift now in the chat as well, unfortunately after retiring from the race. Exactly what happened to him?
He had lag. He said that if Sula crashed into him during the lag.
I did think I saw someone tap the back of him when he had his spin on lap 1. So that, from my view, that's why I thought he had damage. Might have been the case. Whether it was Sula, I can't quite remember, but it's quite likely considering we thought both of them had damage early on.
Yeah, I think it may have been your teammate Hideaki because he was behind you when you first initially had bent. The other was in front, if I remember correctly. But I'm not too sure if Godfather Shift is referring to that that spin that he had at the start of the race, or whether he's referring to the lag disconnect that I think he had when he crashed into the turn 8 hairpin at the bottom of the hill, which I think he was completely on his own for that. There was no one else involved.
Sula was at the way back on the track, I think, when that happened. So not completely sure, but in any case, shame for him that he has had to bail out in this race. Of course, Godfather Shift, he had not retired from a race all season. Of course, this is his first season in the PC Elite League. In all of his 6 first races, he had finished in the top 8, and in all of the last 5, actually, in the top 5, with 2 of those being podiums as well, which is why that consistency is why he was 2nd place in the championship. But now, well, actually, he is still going to be 2nd place in the championship because Nova is not here to take that from him. Whereas D. Keller is a little bit too far back on points. 45 points from Godfather Shift, 2nd in the championship going into this. D. Keller in 4th. So D. Keller, as it stands, will definitely close that gap down quite substantially. But not quite enough to pass him at this moment in time.
Yeah. Just watching F-Mate is still driving around in 2nd position at the moment. He's doing it very, very good to hold it onto on the circuit. He's doing still mid 55s, so only behind him doing low 54s. Grunstrut and Chaff both doing 53s. So his pace isn't great, but it's not absolutely horrendous either. I think he could potentially be trying to do a 0 stop on this race.
Do you remember what position he was in before?
He was
around
around
part of the top 10, maybe?
7th, 8th place. Yeah. Somewhere between 7th and 9th. I don't think he was in P10, but yeah, he was hanging around there. So, interesting strategy choice by him. He may actually work. Let's see where the other guy's built. This is down at the bottom of the hairpin. He's just come out of that, and he's on his run up to the Schumacher rest. His teammate Sula is going through the hairpin now, and Jeff in 9th place is also now going through the hairpin, and Rillo's just gone into the braking zone for that hairpin. So he has space.
Yeah. Obviously, when doing this kind of strategy, skipping out on the stop in favor of trying to preserve the tires, he of course will be running a lot slower pace, but it then comes down to if he can, manage to not lose as much time as he would have lost in the pit lane. And I guess if he was around 7th or 8th previously, and if he managed to stay higher than that by the end of the race, then of course it would have been a successful gamble from him. At the moment he is 2nd, of course, but 14 laps still he has to manage on these tires, and now with Suomi right behind as well in the Corvette, we will be looking surely to get a move done pretty quickly. Suomi, of course, who hasn't finished a race since round 3 of the season. Obviously 2 of them he wasn't actually here for various reasons, but he crashed out last week, but of course now he's looking good, although F-Mate, ooh, that was very squirmy. Oh, I think he's had to save a little slide there, F-Mate, on the outside of turn 7.
I believe so.
A little bit scary for him, but he's still going. Well, he lost a couple of seconds there.
Yep. Basically what F-Mate needs to do if he is doing the 0 stop strategy is basically avoid having those little slides like that. Just being nice and smooth. Obviously the guys around him have all stopped, so there's not really much point in trying to fight them for the actual position. It's more the guys probably from Biltis in 7th position and back to Sula, Jeff and Rillo that he's probably more battling for in this race. But yeah, he's now on the back straight coming down towards Van Bogen, turn 13, and he's up the hill towards the NGK chicane of turns 14 and 15, which is where he's gone a little bit deep in and taken a little bit off the inside in the second part, but probably would have lost time more than he gained.
We might have a battle. It's been a few laps since we have had a battle between drivers that weren't on completely different strategies. Down for 12th position, we've got Andrex and Brandurus very close together. So Brandurus was of course one of the cars in the pack that we saw battling very intensely for 16th place in the first few laps of the race. He was quite far down. He's now up to 13th and he's looking to gain another one in his Aston Martin. With Andrex riding the curb through the Schumacher S. Absolutely using everything he can there. Probably lost a bit of time from running that far out on the curb as well. But Andrex is very much now, Yorkie, under pressure from Brandurus.
Yeah, I almost thought that Brandis was going to have a run on Andrex there because Andrex running a little bit deep through the first part, and usually if you get a good run through there, you carry the momentum up, out through and into the braking zone. He's picking up a slipstream here, though, coming up towards the chicane. He is not going to pull out of that slipstream to try and make a move down the inside. Instead, he's just going to follow him through the chicane rather nicely and probably wait until the next braking and overtaking opportunity, which will be into turn 1. So it's very crucial that Brandis gets the good run coming out of this corner. Looked like Andret's got a good run coming out there as well, and has actually pulled out. It looks like a car length over Brandis as they come on the run down towards turn 1. Again, Brandis not really having a look, but he's going very deep, coming pretty close to the back of the AMG in front of him, but managed to avoid making contact.
Oh my word! Big slide there as well for Brandis. He just had a big drift through through turn 2 behind Andrex there. Managed to save it, but definitely dropped a couple of car lengths off the back of that Mercedes with that.
Yep, it looked okay for me. It just looked like he went pretty wide.
I mean, there was quite a bit of smoke
didn't really get anywhere near the apex. Yes, he's still running quite nicely though. Then 13th place, obviously pressuring Andrex quite hard in front of him. That was really going a little bit weird for me. Grun's just closing up onto the back of F-Mate. Just looking through the rest of the field, it doesn't really look like anyone else is anywhere near close to each other. So I think this battle for P12 is the closest that we have on the track at the moment.
Yep, it does look like it. Andrex, a man who is usually very tricky to get past, and Brandis who should be feeling this in the next few laps as he's trying to pile the pressure on. Andrex he's had an okay season, I guess. 14th place in the championship, 34 points. He didn't race last week, but in the first 5 races he always finished between 8th and 16th, usually between 8th and 12th actually, and it is indeed 12th he's trying to hang on to now as well. Brandis, though, 8th in the championship, has had a very solid run, very consistent run as well, always finishing between 5th and 11th. So he's actually a little bit further down than he usually is Brandis so far in this race. And he's not far behind the likes of Hideaki, Clausen, who's not actually here today, and also Jeff in the championship. But yeah, apart from Clausen, of course, we isn't here. The other two running ahead of him on the track at the moment. So Brandis just have to try and pick up all the points he can and make up the rest in future races if he can. They're really piling the pressure on Andrex now through the first sector, but again he's running a little bit too deep when he gets right up to the back of the Mercedes, and he isn't really able to get a run onto the straight. He's able to get close through the corners, but not really on the straight at the moment.
Yeah, he just needs to tidy himself up a little bit more and kind of do what Andrex.
Bjorky has potentially disappeared, which wouldn't be quite ideal. Well, actually, let's go up to battle for 3rd F-Mate on the alternate strategy. Right ahead of Perry Gronstra, of course, the man with the best pace in the race, but with those 2 spins, he's down battling for 3rd at the moment. He should have a lot more pace. Previous lap, he was 2 seconds, nearly 2 seconds quicker than F-Mate. Let's see if he does have the patience, though, to not pull off anything too silly. Try to make this move stick. The Z4 isn't the best on the straight compared to the roof, and unless he's running a very low down for setup, I guess. So Grosser still has to settle behind through the hairpin. He should get a good run potentially through the Schumacher S, because fresh tires makes a big difference through those kind of high-speed corners. And there we go. Look how close he is on the exit of that one. Now under braking. And there we go. Oh, never mind, because it's going to run deep. F-Mate potentially getting a chance to cut underneath, but Grosser still managed to stay on track and will have the inside line out for the next corner onto the back straight, going down towards the chicane. So Gronstra, despite his 2 quite major spins earlier in the race, is still on for a podium position as Yorkie has dropped out of the commentary box. He fell out of the window, couldn't save him. So that's unfortunate. So I assume that means Yorkie's also gone from the session, which doesn't indeed seem to be the case. So I guess I'm on my own then for now again. Yorkie's internet doesn't quite like us at times, I guess. That was visibly the gap between Charf and Suomi. It's only about 6 or 7 seconds actually. Suomi's not that far back, and it's a similar gap from Suomi to Gronstra as well. But it's only 10 laps to go in the race. It's going to be very tricky for those guys to really close each other up, unless there is some mistakes happening from any of those drivers. I know F-Mates has to worry about Keller if he wants to hang on to 4th in this race. Yorkie, did you manage to climb your way back into the box?
I'm back here, but I'm no longer obviously in the session. I just saw Brandress go off track and then started flicking through everybody, and everybody was slowing down to a stop. So I thought, yes, my internet is gone, annoyingly.
Oh dear. Well,
yes,
it's what happens, I guess. Nothing you can do with that. I guess you will just have to watch the stream then and be 20 seconds delayed on your reactions.
Yep, pretty much. So we a little bit too late.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess do let me know if you somehow notice anything before I do. Always nice. And of course, you have your delayed analysis on any on-track moves that might end up happening. I think while you were gone, we did see Gronstra make the move on F-Mate. For 3rd, obviously F-Mate still trying to hang on to those tires, and I'm actually going to go straight back up to him again, because D. Keller has caught right up to the back of him in just a 1 lap, since F-Mate dropped the position to Gronstra. But behind Keller, though, it's quite a few seconds down to Hideaki, so... Oh, okay, he's not going to pit. F-Mate's just getting out of the way there of Keller. Doesn't want to slow himself down really by having a battle. Maybe felt like he lost a bit too much time when Gronstra went past, through Gronstra running a bit deep and slowing Mate down a little bit on the next corner. So this time it's only going to back out of it a little bit, maybe losing half a tenth into the final corner there, letting Keller through, obviously thinking of the gap to Hideaki, and then potentially built this as well in 7th. We think that Mate was in and around 7th or 8th place before he decided, well, before the other drivers pitted, I guess, and he made the decision to stay out and try and stretch this stint all the way to the end of the race. So as long as he doesn't drop further positions than Hideaki in that set 4, it'll still be a successful strategy, even though, you know, having run in the lofty heights of the podium positions, maybe it won't feel as good. Oh, and then he's been off the track. Just as I say that, F-Mate has been off the track through turn 7 there. Through turn 6 and 7, in fact. So, was way off the track as well, so he must have just gone way too deep on the brakes. And that is not going to help. Hideaki straight through then, and built this only a few seconds down. So now it's going to be even tougher for him to make that strategy work. As I see Yorkie now is in the chat, which is good. At least you can keep them company there. With welcome to Marusha as well, Marusha 815 in the chat, Synchrotron as well. Was very excited to see action, and speaking of action actually, that reminds me that we still have a battle going on for 12th position between Andrex and Brandress, but nothing's really changed there since we started looking at that a few laps ago. Brandress still all over the back of Andrex, but not making any moves at the moment. Andrex just not making a mistake, I guess, not really giving Brandress an opportunity to dive bomb or to cut underneath anywhere. Also, a quick shout out actually to Real Max Live, Alex UKR, and Gasoline75, who have followed the Twitch channel throughout this stream. Very much appreciated, guys. So, quick look through the results, and yeah, no other intimate battles. So we're gonna stay on board with this one. Let's actually jump on board with the front bumper of Brandress. Obviously the engine sounds isn't the most best to look at this point. It tends to get a little bit weird towards the end of races occasionally, but that's how it is. Obviously we can see if there's any difference now between the lines that these guys are taking. Completely different cars, the Mercedes AMG and the Aston Martin V8 Vantage. The Aston Martin should have a good good pace on the straight, and you can see Brandress closing in a little bit on the run towards the chicane. But Andrex visibly gaining in the traction zone coming out of it, and now through the final corner. Medium speed, who will get a back exit out there pretty similar, really. Brandress might get a bit of slipstream effect, but it's a couple of car lengths behind. It's going to be tricky to get close enough going into the first corner. Again, you can visibly see that he's gaining, but not enough to make a late lunge on the inside of Andrex there. So it really is a patient game there for Brandress. He still has 8 laps to do something, and he just has to try and be patient, try and continue to keep pressuring Andrex, and just hope that at some point throughout those 8 laps he will have an opportunity to make a move. Oh. Back up to F-Mate then. He's dropped into the clutches of another car, and this time it's the McLaren of Biltis. The lovely orange McLaren running down the main straight on the inside now of F-Mate, who again doesn't put up too much of a fight. They were running a little bit side by side through the final corner there, and Biltis going very, very tight to the inside, but he knows that he has the tyre advantage here. So despite that super tight line, he still gets the best run out of the corner. And F-Mate drops down into 7th place, and he still has 7 laps to try and manage those tires. And of course, the longer he goes, the worse those tires will be. We already saw him off the track once, but at least the one positive for him now is that it's 9 seconds or so down to Sula, the next car behind. So there's a bit of a buffer there. Those two actually new teammates. Both of them previously having lost their teammates. Sula was teamed up with Nova, who pulled out of the league, and the F-Mate was teammates with... I can't quite remember off the top of my head actually, but whoever he was, he's also no longer racing in the league. So those two have decided to team up instead for the final 4 races. I guess it's a battle now then between those two. F-Mate on the warm tires, Sula on the fresher tires. Although to be fair, actually Sula did also pit relatively early, so his tires won't be that much fresher compared to the other cars that we've seen gone past F-Mate so far in the race. But yeah, on the previous lap, oh my, well I guess that wasn't quite a normal lap from F-Mate. That was quite a slow one, 1:58.7. Sula 3 seconds up on that one. I guess we get a better representation of F-Mate's current pace when he crosses the line this time by. Yeah, who will stay ahead, I guess, in the first race between those two as teammates. F-Mate's now going to come across the line, and it's even slower. Okay, so that maybe is then how much these tires have dropped off now. 159.8. Sula with a 156.1, which is 3.7 seconds quicker. So Sula is closing in massively on F-Mate on just that one lap alone. Jeff not too far behind either, so I feel like actually at this rate, if F-Mate's going to keep doing those kind of times, that means that the strategy might not work after all, even though it's been looking quite good for a while. See that quick sip of water there. Gonna stroll down the field a little bit. We can see that Andrex is still holding on about half a second of a gap on Brandress Ram on his debut in Elite. In 14th position, on for 3 points there on his debut race. Not too bad at all. But second half of the race running quite lonely on the track, it has to be said. And now Brandress is really getting close to Andrex with the infield section. But again, he just keeps putting his car in the right places and making that Mercedes as wide as humanly possible. Or, well, the car isn't human, I guess, but still, you know what I mean. So Brandress really having a tricky time here. Definitely the most tricky overtake that we've seen someone had to work for so far in this race. And just not having it at all. Taking a nice line through there as well, cutting back onto the apex for a nice exit up the hill through the lovely Schumacher S. Such a good corner to drive, although it can be quite frustrating if he's struggling a bit with grip. Quite a tricky one. Both these drivers getting through that one nicely on this occasion as well. And still desperately looking for any other battle on the track, but nothing going at the moment. Oh, but look at this though, the exit that Brandreth's got going into the chicane now. This time, Andrex for the first time in a while having to actively go defensive. Brandreth's running a little bit too deep on the brakes though. Oh, and there we go. That was just a bit too deep. He tried to go around the outside of the first part of the chicane. Was always going to be tricky. He had to go for it though, because he hasn't been given many of those opportunities. It was a valiant effort, but again, Andrex just not having it whatsoever, breaking at the perfect point there for the defensive line to get the run through the chicane. And once again, Brandreth has to stay behind and try to make the move somewhere. I guess those of you who are in the chat at the moment, let me know, who do you think will win this this quite something battle there for 12th position in the race? Is your money on Andrex to defend this, or do you think Brandreth will eventually find a way through? They have 5 laps to try and do it. The leader, actually, Charf, has already started his final lap of the race, but he's not quite lapped this battle we're looking at just yet. These guys will still be on the lead lap as it stands. And yeah, indeed, Synchrotron pointing out very nice and clean from these guys through the chicane. Obviously not quite an easy corner to go side by side. Probably the most tricky one on the whole circuit. These guys doing it very nicely indeed. Frustration for Brandreth though, who is just absolutely throwing everything at Andrex now. Close through every corner, but Andrex is not being put off whatsoever by the man in the Aston. And actually gaining some time on him through the Schumacher S that time. On the brakes though, Brandreth's getting close again, as they now run onto the back straight again. This is where Brandreth got the run on the previous lap. Is he going to have a similar one this time? Again, he's close out of the corner. Slipstream will be in effect to at least an extent, as Martin also quick car on the straight line, but this time not as far alongside as he was last time, by getting very close on the brakes. But Andrex again just not bothered by it, turning into the apex as if nothing was going on, as he was completely lonely on the track. And still staying in P12. So, as he has now pulled off a couple of colleagues again, I'm going to just run through the grid. Chaff about to cross the line. He's got 3 laps left to go to finish first in his, well, for the 5th time this season. 5th out of 7 races, of course. Chaff absolutely dominating at the moment. Such a quick driver, very, very deserved in terms of the pace that he's showed throughout the season, that he's up there at the top of the championships. Not quite settled yet, though. He still needs to turn up at least to the final 3 races to secure his championship. But for now, it's looking very good for him. Duomi as well, looking good for a second behind Gronstra. We haven't seen him spin any more times after the couple he had in the first half of the race. He's still running in the podium position. The Keller in 4th, Hideaki in P5, and then Biltis in P6, which I think would be his best result. No, actually his second best result. He was 5th at Catalonia after a few disqualifications were handed out there. And then Sula now has gotten past his new teammate F-Mate for a bit of intra-team pride there, and F-Mate, you can just see how much he's struggling through the first corner on that occasion. Really, really struggling to get both the grip mid-corner and to get his foot down on the throttle on the exit. And Jeff will be the next car that he will have to worry about, potentially about 5 or 6 seconds between them. Oh, and Jeff made a mistake according to Nismo actually, so Jeff would have been closer if he hadn't done that. Below. In 10th, then Hetharion in 11th at the moment, and then of course the battle for 12th, which Ram, the debutant, is actually catching up to a little bit, I think. Let's see the lap times actually as I go through this time by. 156.6 for Andrex, 156.6 for Brandress, 156.9, so never mind my statement. I feel like the gap was visually getting closer from a few of the other laps, but I guess on that particular lap at least, Ram is still where he used to be. So this is though the battle to look out for. Chaff has now crossed the line to start his penultimate lap of the race. But most of the battles are settled as I say that, actually. And just see that Brandress doesn't make a move here. Andrews is running a little bit deep, very close to the grass. And Brandress will have a wider entry through turn 8 now, or through turn 7, I believe. Let's forget which one it is. It was 7. 8 is the hairpin down here at the bottom. But again, not quite close enough. So I'm going to jump quickly down to this one, which is another close battle. But it was closer before this man. Is that D. Keller or is that Charf coming past to lap them actually? I think it is D. Keller, and it is indeed the man in 4th place has lapped Jamai, and then just Janetta battling it out for 15th at the moment, and I think Janetta was closer than that before, so he might have lost out a little bit more while being lapped there. Maybe been a bit kinder than than Jamai as to where he let Keller through. We're going to jump back up to the battle for 12, the only intimately close battle on the track at the moment. And that is again super close for Brandress through the chicane. And he doesn't have much time now. It's going to be only 2 laps for these guys, assuming they don't get lapped actually. Where is Chaff on the track? He's coming around the final corner. Ooh, it could be close, although Chaff of course now has only 1 lap to do. So I think that these guys will be fine, and they're actually going side by side down the straight. Brandress braking super late on the outside of turn, but again, just like we saw at the chicane, he's just a little bit too late. He's trying to be really, really aggressive on his braking to try and make the move around the outside, because Andrex is never letting him have the inside line. But again, he just was a little bit too much for him. The Austin wouldn't take that late of a braking move, and Andrex still in 12th position. As they have a lap and a half now to try and finish this scrap, and you can see, they can see in the mirrors that the race leader is closing up behind. Ram might actually be in danger of being lapped here, with only about a second to the race leader behind him. But I do think that these guys will be fine, which means that we will have another lap after this to try and focus on at least some battling. And Brandress will probably be happy that we will have another lap to try and make the move stick. And oh, good spot there, Mini Mariner. Gronstra is in 2nd ahead of Suomi by about a second all of a sudden. And Suomi's previous lap was a 2:02.9, so Suomi definitely has had a spin. We saw Gronstra have a couple of spins earlier in the race. This time it's Suomi's turn to spin, and only with a lap or so to go in the race. That is quite frustrating for him, but we're gonna go back to the battle for 12 as again they're gonna be side by side. Andrix again defending the inside into the chicane. Brandress trying to go later. He's not as deep on the brakes as he has been previously, but again that meant that he wasn't able to get alongside through the first part of the chicane. Ram now trying to not get lapped here on his first race in Elite, and I think he will be able to do it. Charf, the race leader and now race winner, will come through to take his 5th win of the season. Super impressive drive from him again. Gronstra was challenging him on pace in the early stages, but then after his spin there was no touching Charf in this race. Gronstra is going to come home for a 2nd place, with Suomi with a bit of damage there as well, so whatever happened to him on the previous lap, he definitely hit something there. Has quite a bit of damage to the front of that Corvette. Keller coming across next. Then we will have Hideaki coming across the line for P5. Biltis with a really solid P6 result for him. And then Sula in 7th. But just to make sure nothing happens in this battle for P12. He says he's 14th at the moment, but that's just because the game is getting a little bit confused when lapped cars cross the line. before cars on the lead lap. So we will stick with this battle for P12, and it looks like Andrex has got his covered at the moment. Brandon's not as close really as he has been on some of the other laps through here. Really his final opportunity now is into the chicane again, and he has to get really close through these two corners. This is very, very important for him. Let's go on board with the bumper view just to get a view of how much he's closing, if any, in the slipstream here, going down the straight. This time he's not side by side. Andrex will not have to go defensive into the chicane. And I think he might well be happy about that. Brandon's very late on the brakes, managing to not run into the back of the Mercedes. One corner to go for these guys, with Ram looking on just behind as well. Andrex seems to have been pulling off an astonishingly awesome defensive drive in this battle, and both of them flashing their lights across the line. 12th place for Andrex, 13th for Brandrus, Ram 14th on his debut in Elite after moving up from Pro. And the guys we didn't really point out earlier, now they're going to go side by side after the line. And now Brandrus has managed to make the move stick, but unfortunately for him, the race is already finished. So the other finishers, Jeff in 8th, F-Mate 9th, Willow 10th, already back in the garage, Etharion in 11th, and then of course the cars that were lapped was Dangerous Janetta, who did get back past Damai in the end actually. And then of course we did lose Ratrug, Gibbs, Goldfather Shift, and another person.
Mr. Alcon.
Mr. Alcon, thank you very much. So that's it, I guess. Nice to see you still here, Yorkie. My mouth is quite dry now, so if you don't mind doing some talking on the interviews, I would be very appreciative of that. Oh my word, that's
just about watched it. The stream was laggy for me. I think I've still been having internet issues, which is quite frustrating.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully things will improve.
It would be nice, but yeah, Synchrotron in the chat saying enjoy the battle between Andrex and Brandrus, which was good to hear. So I think that was kind of the main battle. That was the only super close battle really in the second half of the race, to be honest, considering all the other overtakes we saw was F-Mate being passed on his warm tires. And speaking of F-Mate, he did finish 9th in the end, so didn't really work out too well with his alternate strategy, but it's always cool to see someone try to pull off something different on that. So that's how it is. Should we get some interviews go? Oh my word, there is smoke flying up in the garage. All kinds of weird stuff kicking off here. But Yorkie, any wishes for who we should interview here?
Good question.
It is a good question.
I'm not entirely sure who we should go for.
Twitch chat, let us know if there's any particular driver today that you'd like to hear from. I mean, I feel like we definitely have to hear from one of the guys in that Andrex Brandrus battle. Just because that was sort of our main entertainment in the second half of the race. There was quite a lot of battling in the first half, but in the second half there was really that one. That was the main source of side-by-side racing. Chaff, though, of course, the race winner, it would be appropriate to hear from him, but we've heard from him so many times this season already, so he might be tired of us. Maybe Gronstra would be interesting, actually. He was so fast today, but obviously had those 2 spins. Might be interesting to hear from him. Maybe Suomi as well, considering season again has been a bit up and down. I think I'm going to go for... I'm gonna give Gronstra a try here. Hello, Perry Gronstra.
Hello.
Hello. Hope you don't mind me dragging you into the commentary box for a little chat.
Doesn't matter.
Good. So obviously, you're back in the league after sitting out the first half of the season or so, which is always good. And here today, I have to say, your pace was absolutely fantastic. But unfortunately, with a couple of spins, it wasn't to be. How do you feel your race went?
I was quick enough, and but one time I was a little bit too close to shaft. I had to avoid him, and I went off. And the second time was just a lock up concentration a little bit.
Yeah.
But the pace was more than good enough.
Yeah, definitely, because I think we were looking at the times throughout the race. You were often, well, at certain points you were, miles quicker than anyone else, several tenths quicker than even Sharf up ahead. And I think you did get the fastest lap of the race, so at least that's something to take away from this race.
Yes, as far as I can see, I had the fastest lap. Yeah, I made a mistake with time practice. I did a time practice with 55 liters of fuel or something for the race.
All right.
I was hoping to pole position, but then it's much easier to control the pace.
Yeah.
And yeah, still have a little bit problem to drive close behind someone with a completely different car. That's always a little bit difficult.
Yeah, different braking points and turning points and stuff, I guess, between the two cars. But you obviously had a bit of a mixed bag in your return to the league so far. Didn't finish at Catalonia, then you had a few little problems at Suhai, finished 8th there, but now you're back on the podium at least. You have any particular goals for the final 3 races of the season?
Not particularly. I just enjoy it, and that's all. And yeah, the next couple of races are with rain and dark. That's not so good for my eyes, because my sight is not the best anymore. And I found a couple of things to improve it a little bit. So I can only hope for the best. All the circuits, what is coming now, are my favorite circuits, so that must not be the problem.
Alright, that's good to hear. So yeah, of course, I have to say well done, even though it wasn't quite a win today, but it is still a 2nd place, which is very, very good. Well done on the result today, man. Thanks for chatting to us, and I hope you have a good final 3 races.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
See you. Alright, that was Perry Grandster, first time we heard from him this season. By the way, shout out to the new follower, Ozro, following the Twitch stream. Thank you very much for that as well. So, didn't see any particular wishes in the chat. Synchrotron wanted to hear from both of the guys battling for 12. I guess we can not do that actually, because Andrix has left the channel. And Brandrus has also left the channel! God damn it! So we can't hear from any of them. That's quite annoying, actually. In that case, quick chat maybe with Suomi, maybe, because he got the final podium. We're gonna have some super quick chat with Suomi before we go. Hello there, Suomi.
Oh, yeah, hello.
Hello. Trying to do it in the comedy box.
Didn't realise. Yeah, I didn't know there was one.
No, so yeah, we just thought I'd have a super quick chat with you. Obviously, in that Corvette, you had a pretty solid race. Qualified 3rd, finished 3rd, unless I'm mistaken. Or did you qualify 2nd? Oh, yeah, I forgot that.
We were all in the same tent, weren't we?
Yeah.
The start, I come around the last corner on the formation lap, and I was actually in 1st. I know my nose was in front of him, I couldn't see him on the right, and so I backed off, and as soon as I backed off, he went. So I got a start. And then I was like 4th, I think, after the first few corners.
Yeah, I think you were close to dropping under 5th, actually.
Yeah. And I battled with Papand, and then pulled away from him. by a few seconds. Kept it between 2 and 3 seconds, I think, for quite a long time. And I've seen Gronstra was right by Chaff for the first 10 to 15 laps, and then Gronstra spun out. What happened then? Was I in front of him then? I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
After the first spin, was it?
Yeah, because
Okay.
he spun and then
Yep.
you were ahead of him, I think. Or maybe no, after his second spin.
Oh no,
you were
no,
ahead.
yeah, he spun. Yeah, it was
spun
actually. Yeah, he
twice.
spun. I was closer. Yeah, it's a second spin that I was in front of him. Yeah, and I was trying to catch Chaff, but it wasn't going to happen because the Corvette's slower than the roof around that track. So I was trying my best though. I thought I had second wrapped up, and then lap 40. I was trying to do some maths. I don't know why.
Okay.
So it took my eye off the driving, and
Yeah.
turn 3 I spun out, getting on the throttle. So shouldn't have done that really, and then gave away the second.
Just some casual mid-race math. Any particular reason
Yeah.
you wanted to do that? Was it trying to figure out something related to the race, or just?
Yeah. I was trying to work out where I would have been in the roof.
All
compared to
right.
Chaff.
That's always interesting. What did you come to a conclusion on that one, or did the spin kind of distract you from?
I'm not sure, but I reckon we'd have probably been on top of each other for the whole race,
Ah, right.
possibly. But I was also trying to work out roughly how much quicker his car is per lap and what he should have beat me by in the race. But obviously I spun out on lap 40, so that didn't work out.
Based on that, are you still happy with your choice to go into Corvette, or?
No,
No.
really not. I thought it'd have a couple of tracks where it would, I don't know, well not dominate but win, but it seems like it's not.
Yeah, seems quite tricky at the moment. It's still great to look at though, at least. So that's
yeah.
yeah, Silverstone, Watkins Glen, Dubai. Not too confident, or?
Silverstone, I'll be okay. The other two, the car's gonna be really bad.
Right.
So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So yeah, that is a different experience, I guess, in the car. Obviously, the first time the Corvette's been on the grid, but
Yeah.
yeah, it would be nice to see you a little bit further up. At
That's
least you
nice,
finished the
nice.
race though on the podium again after
Yeah, that's
frustrating evening last week.
That's it. Hopefully we can get another podium next week.
Yep.
It's the aim.
Good. So yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks for joining us. Well done on the
Thank you.
podium. Catch you next week.
Yep. See you next week.
Right, see you, man. Right, and I did see that Andrex came back into the Discord channel, so I'm going to drag him back in as well for, I say a quick chat, but with Andrex it's usually not a quick chat, but anyway, let's see how it goes. Hello, Andrex, nice of you to come back.
Hello.
Hello. So I thought we'd just have a quick chat with you, because in the second half of the race, the main thing we really were looking at was your battle with Branderus. But first of all, remind us, what's happened in your first half of the race, because I can't quite remember.
Nothing much really. It was pretty straightforward, just holding position really. Yeah, it's all pretty clean, and people were respecting track limits, which is always nice. And just doing my own lap really. The guy, I think it was Hideaki that was in front of us, and he was just edging away pretty consistently, and there was no chance I was going to hang on to him at all. So just do my own thing, do my own laps. Yeah, I was saying in the chat there, Branders was about 5 seconds behind me on lap 5, and then just constantly just nudging away at that split behind me, and just getting slower, smaller and smaller lap by lap. We pitted, and there's about 2 seconds behind me. Left the pits, and just 2 seconds behind me. I was like, oh, damn it. I was hoping to gain something out of that, but no. And then, yeah, he just slowly started catching up on me. He managed to eventually get into my draft and catch up a bit more. And I think in the last 5 laps, I think it was Ramdrop behind Ramdrop.
Yeah, it was random there.
And I was a bit concerned that he would end up catching both of us. So do I let Branderos pass and let him go and then lose just one position, or do I risk losing both? or keeping both. And I asked Brandreth if he wanted to go past, just to let him go.
Oh.
He didn't actually hear me the first time, so I got an extra lap. And then I asked him again, and he said, "No, let's just fight. It's good. Let's fight." So we did. And yeah, well, there's tactics involved, but yeah, I was kind of living on borrowed time. The tires were getting a little bit smoky on the entry and some of the corners. So yeah, I had a good battle. He was a lot better on the brakes than my fat Merc. So it was normally a scary bit because people tend to go into the back of me because I brake a lot earlier than everyone else. But
Look, crucially, the 2 times he tried to go around the outside, he braked a little bit too late, actually.
Yeah, no, you managed to keep it clean though. It was all good.
Yeah.
Good racing on the track. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed that. I feared it was going to be quiet, hot lapping or semi-hot lapping. But as he was closing the gap, and there was obviously the fight was on. So no, great, and it's only, well, I'll say only, but P12 for me and the AMG I think's a pretty good result. So. But it's good that there's battles at that end of the field, at least. I don't know what it was like up ahead, but no, I enjoyed it.
Quite a few battles in the top 10 in the first half of the race, I think, but kind of settled down a bit. So your battle was sort of the main highlight of at least the final 10 or 15 laps.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't let him through in the end.
Then Brandreth was a bit sneaky. He saw me struggling with the tyres, and he thought, oh well, if I ask Charf to stay behind us and not lap us and cut the lap one down, then we have to fight another lap, and there's a good chance that Andrex will drop it. We managed to keep it facing the right way, so a bit sneaky there, Mr. Brandreth. Yeah, it was a good fight.
Yeah. And you're upholding your reputation as the Scottish Wall. You're not easy to get past.
Yeah, well, I didn't have to defend too much, to be fair. There was a couple of corners where I decided to take the inside and make a definitive effort of being defensive against him. But there's not that many passing places, even though he was strong on the brakes compared to mine. But yeah, it's good. It's good fun. Enjoyed it a lot.
Alright, man. I guess. I don't have a lot to talk today. I think I need to end this stream, man. But so anyway, cheers for coming to Justice, and cheers for providing the battle that we all enjoyed.
Yeah, cheers. Look forward to seeing you. Cheers.
Right, yeah, see you next week. Okay. God, my mouth is dry. Alright. Guys. Gene is in the chat now as well, a bit late, mate, but yeah, so I'm gonna round this off in just a minute. You heard from 3 drivers there, and yeah, they seemed relatively upbeat, even though all of them probably feel like they could have done a little bit better, but Andrex at least doing a really good defensive job in his particular battle. So, next week, we've got 3 races to go in the season, starting off with the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, 39 laps of races, of racing even. And it's not going to be normal race at Silverstone, because it's going to be right in the middle of the night, 11 PM in-game start time. So the stars are going to be providing all the light, well, apart from the headlights of the cars, I guess, and a bit of flood lighting around the track, I guess, as well. But yeah, so that's going to be definitely an interesting one. We've been at Silverstone several times earlier in other seasons, but never in the night time. So that's going to be fun. In terms of the actual stream, though, that'll be at the usual time, of course, around 7:50 PM UK time, hopefully with slightly fewer issues at the start. This time, obviously, I still don't know quite what caused the issue with my OBS not picking up the game at the start of the stream. Managed to get it fixed at least, that's the main thing, I guess. So hopefully that wasn't too big of a problem in the end. And yeah, hopefully as well, Yorki's internet will hold out till the end of the race next time. I don't know if you're still here, Yorki.
Just about.
Just about hanging in there.
Yeah.
You want to say any words before we head off?
Yeah, I won't be here next week.
What?
I'll be in Lanzarote.
Oh,
I told you this.
Oh, but I can't remember which week you're talking about every time.
Yeah. So I won't be here for Silverstone, which is a shame because it's like my favourite track. So Unfortunately, I'll be missing out on that one, but I should be back for Watkins Glen and also Dubai, so I'll be there for the last 2. Other than that, difficult stream, technical issues at the start, my disconnect kind of knocks the motivation an awful lot. It's quite frustrating, but hopefully things will go a lot smoother next time, and hopefully we shall see some continuous battles going on whilst out on the track. It's always good to. It's always good to commentate on those for sure.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting race, and hopefully all of the 3 remaining races will be interesting. And well, I guess we won't see you then next week, as I falsely advertised just before. So I guess it'll be either Stevie or Wycomb's coming in for that race alongside me. Whoever calls dibs, I guess. I'm not quite sure will be, but in any case, tune in next week, guys. Silverstone in the night. That'll be interesting. And hopefully the drivers will put on another good show for us. So thanks for watching the race today. Everyone who has posted in the chat as well, special thanks to you. Hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next week for another GT3 AOR League race on Project Cars. Good night.
Cheers, goodbye.